So, it's been a popular topic for the past few years, but we're once again facing the same issue, and that's the uncertainty with Brock Lesnar's WWE future. Brock Lesnar made his huge return to the WWE in 2012, after being away from the company for several years. Brock Lesnar's original WWE debut took place back in 2002. Brock Lesnar came onto the scene as this freak of nature and dominated the roster. Brock Lesnar would only stick around in the WWE for a few years after his debut, but he did accomplish quite a lot in those few years. Who can ever forget Brock Lesnar vs. The Rock in SummerSlam 2002? A lot of fans saw this match as the passing of the torch from The Rock to Brock Lesnar. The Rock was coming towards the end of his WWE run and was quickly becoming a massive star in Hollywood, so some fans viewed that match as the real crowning of Brock Lesnar as the next top guy. That's exactly what happened. Over those next few years, Brock became a huge star for WWE, but left the company out of nowhere in 2004. There's a lot of rumored reasons why he left. Some think it was because of all the hectic traveling. Some think he just wanted to explore different things. So, that's what Brock did. He experimented in the NFL and a few other things before landing in the UFC. Some fans weren't sure how Brock Lesnar, who came from a wrestling background, would do inside the UFC cage, but he proved all the critics wrong. Brock Lesnar became UFC World Heavyweight Champion for a handful of months. Brock would later lose the title to Cain Velasquez, who also followed Brock into the WWE. After wrapping up with the UFC, Brock Lesnar returned to the WWE after nearly 8 years, which worked out well for Brock Lesnar. He signed with the WWE, but gets to keep his UFC schedule of only competing once every few months, and he doesn't have to worry about getting seriously hurt. So it's a win-win for Brock all around. But in the recent years, the big headline that you'll always see coming up is Brock Lesnar leaving the WWE. This is probably the most reoccurring and annoying headline to see, but it's just the reality. WWE doesn't quite work like other sports, where the teams announce when they signed a player to a new deal. The other sports will tell you how long they signed for, how much they're making, and all the extra incentives on their contract. It doesn't quite work like that with the WWE. It's actually quite random. WWE announced that The Miz, Lana, and Paige all signed new contracts, but when it comes to Brock Lesnar, we're left clueless. Brock Lesnar was itching to go back to UFC in 2015 and almost did before Vince McMahon was able to work out an extension for him to stay with the WWE. Then every few months after that, the question that was always brought up was Brock Lesnar's WWE contract status. Real quick, if you made it this far and enjoy what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. A large percentage of our viewers aren't even subscribed, so take a second to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of the new daily videos. Let's get back into the story. Now here we are, a handful of years later, and Brock Lesnar is still with the WWE. So what's going on? Since Brock's contract is not public information, all we can really do is speculate and go over the rumors about his contract. One report had a really good concept that makes a lot of sense. They believe that Brock Lesnar and WWE's latest deals have all been short-term deals, basically meaning that he's signed for a handful of months at a time, so that he doesn't have to be tied down and committed to the WWE long-term, and could be free to do things like return to UFC if he desires to. Now, we're asking the same question, is Brock Lesnar done with the WWE for the time being? All of this started after Vince McMahon said during the investor call that we don't have Brock Lesnar anymore. Mr. McMahon didn't go into much detail, but that line left a lot of fans wondering what he meant by we don't have Brock Lesnar anymore. Is Brock Lesnar done with the company and wrapped up his last date at WrestleMania 36? We just have no clue, but that line by Vince McMahon was very scary and concerning. He could have said something like, we don't have Brock Lesnar at the moment, but the fact that he says anymore raises a lot of questions. There was another report that claims Brock Lesnar isn't a fan of empty arena shows as well, so Brock Lesnar could possibly be waiting it out until the crowds are back. But if you've been keeping up with our stories lately, then you already know we are far, far away from any sort of live crowd being present at a WWE show. So if this report is true, if Brock Lesnar is waiting for a huge live crowd to be present at his match, then it's going to be a long time before we see Brock Lesnar back inside a WWE ring. Another thing to wonder about is who Brock Lesnar would face next. Brock Lesnar has just about faced all the major stars over the last few years, so who's really left to challenge him? Like we talked about before, Bobby Lashley is the name that keeps getting brought up as the next challenger for Brock Lesnar. Bobby Lashley is slowly breaking away from Lana. We even saw Lashley tell Lana to just stay backstage during his match. So could this be the really early stages of WWE building Bobby Lashley up for a big challenge like Brock Lesnar? That could be the route they're going here. Bobby Lashley even discussed in an interview from a few years ago that he barely even had any conversations with Brock over the years, but he would still love to work with Brock Lesnar in the future. So that's a potential big name for Brock Lesnar to face next, but we really don't know where his story and character will go next. Even though you can argue that he's owed a rematch against Drew McIntyre, I think a majority of fans can agree that we don't want to see Brock Lesnar in the title picture anymore. Brock Lesnar spent the last few years as the Universal Champion and the WWE Champion, so a lot of fans are kind of burnt out on seeing him as champion. Not to mention that it's absolutely horrible when Brock disappears for months as champion and returns to Raw only for a 5-minute promo segment to just jog in place in the middle of the ring. That's what makes Brock's title reign feel so repetitive and dull. It's just always the same thing. Brock Lesnar appearing on Raw used to feel like a special thing, but not anymore because he never does anything on Raw. We understand Brock doesn't wrestle on TV quite often, but it would be nice to get him involved and do other things on Raw besides just standing there. Just take a look at a few years ago when Brock Lesnar was destroying cars, flipping commentary tables, and giving Michael Cole the F5. It's things like that where the fans actually enjoy seeing Brock Lesnar on Raw. So, with Vince McMahon's latest comments there of WWE not having Brock Lesnar anymore, no one knows what this means and if Brock is done for good. But if WWE does bring Brock Lesnar back, then let's hope he comes back with a bit more purpose and interesting segments. What are your thoughts on these rumors going around about Brock Lesnar? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on so you won't miss any new videos, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.